Hello and welcome to another video. This video is going to be a different style than the weekly training recaps and commentary. In this video we're actually going to review and analyze one of Team 1 Rep Max's own, Kyle. We recently started working together and a big project of ours has been to find his form for his deadlifts. Obviously everyone has to find their own technique and kind of figure things out as they go. And something that he struggled with is just his form and looking at the deadlift from a technical standpoint. While strong and consistently working with around 500 pounds, he's able to muscle up and complete the reps and the singles. Obviously, as the reps go on, this becomes more difficult, and he struggles to maintain a consistent position. And obviously, with pre-existing back pain, it's really important that we work to address this, especially given that he has a meet coming up in the next couple of weeks. So it's very important for us to fix this right now. So there are really two key points at which we made technical adjustments to his technique. First is online as a result of his initial technical issues. This helped us to reduce his tendency to lose his shoulders forward and prevent initial back rounding. As we can see in the video, his hips start low, but his back position is consistently rounded, and in many ways his deadlift kind of looks like a two-part movement, something that we really don't want. You can see here in the upcoming slow motion that he really gets out of position during the pause, and he finds it difficult to recover and obviously finish the lift from a good standing, and we're just putting far too much pressure on the lower and the upper back here, and we can definitely work to address some of those inefficiencies and make things right, and that's exactly what we did do. So we adjusted and focused on some different elements to make things a bit smoother. The first was setting the hips slightly higher, focusing on sitting back into the hamstrings, moving the head up to try and maintain upper back tightness. And this is definitely something that Kyle has improved on. As you can see in the slow-mo here, there's a lot of those issues were not dealt with. We have back rounding, his shoulders are forward, and his hips start a bit too low. Just trying to find a better position. So here you can see one of the videos of where we're starting to address some of these issues, starting with his hips a bit higher. But we almost run into the reverse issue here of not using any real back at all and really just focusing on the movement being kind of an RDL. We also have this problem of the bar just starting really, really far away from his shins and not consistently being pulled into his shins. These are all things that we worked to address. And then as you can see coming up now, we really focused on sitting back into the hamstrings, as I said, keeping his head up, as I said, and he definitely showed some big improvements here, although we're still left with a couple of issues. The back starts rounding towards the lockout, the start position is suboptimal. The bar is obviously really far away from him here, and he's forced to lock out by hyperextending. And we can also see that his feet kind of move around a little bit. Maybe this isn't the best example as you can't see his feet, but once he starts to pull, you'll be able to see that his feet aren't totally glued into the floor. We're losing a lot of tightness in the upper back there, and although the hip position has improved, we're not necessarily doing as much to keep the shoulders back as would be best. In addition, he's kind of doing short arms here. There's just way too much tension in his arms, and you can see that at the top as his elbow starts to flex a little bit. Obviously something that we want to stay away from, and we get a little bit of knee bend from that hyperextension at the top. So the key main points there are back rounding at the top, bar pushed away, and not enough foot pressure. So all things that we kind of want to address before they get worse. So we scheduled an in-person session. Kyle, as I mentioned, has a meet coming up, so we really wanted to get this sorted right now, and then also just get a session in to kind of build that confidence. So during the session, we focused first on setting his stance to the bar on the approach, so making sure that his feet were underneath the bar, so that when he put his shins down, he was able to pull the bar into him and not get pushed out during his setup. We adjusted stance width a little bit, but mainly focused on creating force through his entire foot to maintain stability throughout the pull. The next step was to focus on setting the hips during the setup, allowing him to brace effectively and secure the upper back tightness, effectively preparing to wedge himself in the bar. We then worked on having him exaggerate upper back tightness by trying to squeeze his shoulder blades together and imagining having a heavy squat on his back. Creating that upper back tightness and focusing on creating long arms during the start of the pull is critical at the start point to create a solid platform to pull the weight. we actually created a cue of imagining your upper back and almost your body as a whole as a deadlift jack. Your upper back and your back being a rigid lever, but in order for the lever to function properly, we must be able to support and hold the weight. So therefore, creating that tightness, creating that strength and rigidity in the upper back. And then additionally, we wanted to focus on creating and stabilizing through leg drive, so using the quads and the hamstrings. And these components all add up to kind of create one synchronized movement where we're levering as well as pushing. And we're really maintaining that tightness and positioning that supports the existing strength. We only worked up to around 120 kilos here, well under Kyle's max, but a weight that allowed us to just focus on ingraining these cues without creating fatigue. This was a squat day for him, so it was completely unintended deadlift fix, but we needed to get it done. You can see that Kyle is now using his head position to kind of set his back, and he's starting with his hips higher, as we addressed in step 2. But he's also sitting back and using his hamstrings and quads to drive the floor away from him and make the movement come together. You can see that it's no longer a two-part movement, but his upper back and his hips are hinging as the deadlift jack, as we explained, and he's pushing the floor with his hamstrings and quads. And that, combined with pulling the bar into his shins, helps to ensure that his back position is consistent and his performance will be optimal. As you can see here, very, very smooth reps. But that will be everything in the video. Hopefully you'll be able to get something out of this. And thank you very much to Kyle for letting me use him as an example. And hopefully all these form tips will come together, and his competition on March 17th will be a show of PRs. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.